Okay, gents, we're going to focus now on a massive game coming up in the Premier League this weekend. Aston Villa against Arsenal. How will the Gunners react to that defeat to Manchester City in midweek as they were knocked off the top of the table? But momentarily, they can go back to the top of the Premier League table with a positive result at Villa. Nick, this is a massive game for Arsenal. They've dropped 4 points in 4 of their last 6 games, Is this a proper wobble for Arsenal, or can you see them kind of getting back into the swing of things away at Villa? This is a tough one for them.
Well, this is where I need to lean on you guys. What qualifies as a proper wobble? I think 3 games, you are already wobbling. But if it needs to be a 4th, they are on the precipice of wobblage. I think that it's already a wobble. And I think Saturday is going to be really interesting. I had said to Andy, before we filmed today, that I could see it going either way, but either way to extremes. I think Arsenal is either going to show up and just demolish Villa away. They have the speed to do that, or we're going to see another draw or loss. I just think this is a Arsenal team that is very, very good, that is going to be good for a while, but this is unforeseen, unexperienced territory for pretty much everybody at the club, and that makes Saturday at 7:30 against Unai Emery, by the way, very, very interesting.
A lot of narrative. And by the way, Proper Wobble, great band name. Whenever you're saying that, but the mood at Arsenal, Andy, after that defeat to City, where they matched them for most of it, Mikel Arteta has come out and said that, and said, I have more belief in my players now than I did before that performance, because all it was is we gave City 3 goals. We made big mistakes. We didn't, Nketiah had a couple of chances with headers that he didn't make the most of. So Arteta's and Arsenal's philosophy always stays the same. They're going to play the same way. Missing a couple of key players, with Partey missing in midweek, and obviously Gabriel Jesus still out. But those comments to me, what kind of reaction does that tell you that we're going to see from Arsenal? Are they really downbeat, or are they just trying to kind of glaze over a bit? You know what? City, on their day, they can beat absolutely everyone. Let's not try and worry about that too much. We've still got a game in hand. Win that, we still go top of the table. But it's difficult, right? They're playing in the early game Saturday at Villa Park, coming off that defeat at home to City. Yeah. It's tough, right? It's going to be tough, like Nick said. This is uncharted territory for this young Arsenal side.
Yeah, they showed they can play with City, but they still have not shown to me at all that they can beat City in a game that matters. And when there's something significant as the Premier League title is on the line. And so to have that setback as a young team, and also Nick and I were chatting before we got started. I'm curious to see how Arteta responds and how he comes out of this game, because we have heard some interesting press conferences and interviews from him over the years, which have then kind of led into some interesting team selections and tactical setups over his time at Arsenal. And so I think this is a huge, huge spotlight on him as well, and how he handles what is now, there was pressure before that game. There is now significant pressure there. No longer top of the table. Obviously, they've got a game in hand, and so they could, for an hour or two, go back top of the table. But I have a lot of questions about how they're going to respond to this, because it is a young squad, and I think we knew Thomas Partey would be a big miss for this team, and it took a little while. It took 65, 70 minutes for City to really kind of figure out how to play through Arsenal and cut through them, and it turned out to be the press. I don't think Arsenal will run up against quite the same problems against the press against Aston Villa, but it is going to be, they will be on full week rest. Arsenal will not. They will be at Villa Park. That matters. And Nick is right. You've got Unai Emery there. That's a juicy subplot, and could be, the post-game interview with Unai Emery, the little sly, sheepish smile that could be on his face afterwards if they can pull one off against Arsenal. The title race is getting really, really interesting.
It really is. And I think the main point on Arsenal I want to make is that they're playing with house money right now. If you said to any Arsenal fan, you're basically going to finish in the top 4 at the end of the season, which, barring an incredible collapse, that's going to happen. Yeah. You can just kind of take confidence that they're even in this situation, and they're a year or two ahead of where they should be right now. But that's difficult because there's been such a crescendo building around them, the noise that they're going to do it. They're going to shock everyone. Yeah. Surely they're going to win it. And now that they've dropped points, against Everton, Brentford, and now Man City in recent weeks, those doubts, it's hard to stop that slide for a young team when it starts happening. But I just want to point out they're still way ahead of where they should be, and they have been a lot of fun to watch for the first half or so of the season.
Yeah, let me jump in here real quick. A month or two ago, whenever they played United, we asked the question, long term, which one of these two teams, kind of young, developing teams, is more set up for long-term success? And I kind of fell on the side of United. They're United. They will have the pull. They will have the money, all of those factors. It almost feels, and I guess I kind of disagree a little bit with what you say there, Joe. It feels like this might be Arsenal's chance. Now, obviously, like young squad, they will get better and everything. But to already be in that position, there is no guarantee to get back into it again next year or the year after that. And so the house money thing feels, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's an excuse that Arsenal fans could fall back on, but I think at the same time, like maybe it's being a bit too kind, if that makes sense.
During our watch along that we did, I said that they had to win against Man City. I felt like, again, the same thing that you said. I thought it was more important for them to win that game than Man City to win that game, because I'd still fancy Man City, even if they lost against Arsenal, they could go and win 10 or 11 games in a row, right, to be right up there. I think for Arsenal, like you said earlier, the mentality of, all right, we beat Man City, we can actually do this. Now that's kind of gone, and now it's how do they react, right? And Nick, you mentioned it, Unai Emery. What a job he's done at Villa to drag them up the table. They're tough to beat now. How are they set up? Because they've been very good on the counter-attack with Watkins, with Leon Bailey since he's come in. Do you think that's what they'll do against Arsenal? Just sit back, let them have a lot of the ball, and then as we saw with Villarreal sides and sides he's had really good success with over the years at Sevilla and others, they love to counter and make the most of mistakes. And we saw those defensive mistakes Arsenal made and were almost kind of coaxed into making by Man City, right? So kind of feels like Villa can do something similar at a very different level than what Man City did to Arsenal midweek.
Yeah, Villa have a bunch of players who I really like, and I'm trying to figure out if they're at their ceiling. Douglas Luiz, Ollie Watkins lately has been in pretty good form. He works his butt off. I think Mings, we can kind of agree, has been at his ceiling for quite some time as well. Martinez, even in goal, someone who's been wonderful for a while and starting to show a little bit of
play for Arsenal as well. So someone to prove to them.
Right. Are we going to see Emery find another level from these players? Because we know he can do it. We know he can organize a system. We know he can, has the draw to pull in players, but will we see a development? Can he make, Douglas Luiz get to the next level? Can he find in Douglas Luiz what Pep saw when he signed him to City? These are the questions we'll find out soon. Another quick point on Arsenal, though, as I looked this up while you were talking, because it kind of blew my mind a little bit. They have done significant spending over the last 2 years, because you kept saying house money and it triggered something to me. Do we really believe that if they don't win the title this year, that there will still be investment? Because that has been an Arsenal fan complaint in a lot of years over the last half decade or so.
Yeah, I think obviously they qualify for the Champions League, then that's a different proposition, right? The level of players they can buy, and the fact that they've even got the players they've got in without having the Champions League carrot dangling is, hats off to Arteta and Edu and everyone doing the business there. So as long as they finish in the top four, that'd be great. But yeah, the more I think about it, Andy is right in terms of this is a great opportunity. City haven't been at their best for most of the season. It's like Man United are coming. Chelsea is spending it's gone out of fashion. And obviously Liverpool, I think, will be back at some point as well. Yeah. So it's kind of probably now or never, right, for Arsenal. Yeah. They have to pick themselves up from this defeat to City.
Yeah, it might not be now or never, but it might be now is the best opportunity. It's also worth remembering. Let's point out, you don't have to look anywhere but across North London for Arsenal to remember, progress is not linear. You progress from fifth last season and you finish second this season and you go out and make signings and you keep the squad together, you think, okay, well, we're going to win the title next season. We're going to challenge for it. We all said that about Tottenham this season. We had a conversation. Are they genuine? Clearly they are not. And so one season is one season. It is its own entire event that occurs, and it doesn't carry over to the next one. And so the more we talk about it, the more I feel like Arsenal kind of have to win it right now. And that could then launch onto, a period of some dominance for them being there at the top, but we shall see.
experience, though, plays a lot in these battles in the title race, and we saw that City just have that class, right? They have that know-how of being in these situations before, and Arsenal just don't quite have that right now. But, this is going to be key to see how they react. For me, the key battle in this game is if Partey is still out, then it's Jorginho, it's Xhaka against Douglas Luiz, Boubacar Kamara, and the players that Villa have there in those midfield areas. Can they overrun Arsenal? Can they win the ball back and get it quickly to their strikers and make the most of that imbalance that we see sometimes of Arsenal's fullbacks with Zinchenko, Ben White or Tomiyasu, whoever's playing that wide? That obviously love to get involved in the play right going forward, but there are some opportunities we saw Man City made the most of with playing quick passes in between the centre-backs and full-backs. So that's the key area I'm looking for there. Nick Mendola, score prediction time. Villa, Arsenal, what you got? Put you on the spot, mate.
1-1.
1-1. Oh, wow, okay. And more drop points for Arsenal. Andy, do you see that being the case as well?
I do. I've got 2-2. Over here. It feels like there's going to be goals, certainly goals for Villa. Arsenal expended a lot of energy, a lot of mental and physical energy on this game and focus and preparation. And Villa will have spent the entire, I know that's how it works, but it feels like that's going to be a big factor in this one.
I'm going 2-1 Arsenal. I just think Villa defensively haven't been as good in recent weeks as they have been previously under Emery, and there's still a few little issues there. So I think this is a good matchup for Arsenal. I think they'll have a lot of the ball. If they score early, Saka, whoever. And there's still something about this team, the grit, and saying, okay, we can react. We can go back to the top of the table. They showed me against City, yes, key defensive errors cost them dear, but they were closer to City than I thought they would be. And that's a big kind of line that's come out of that game. And if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm not too despondent. But okay, head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest news ahead of this game, how to watch information, preview, analysis, reaction during it and after. We'll have you covered over at PST, and a big, big game for Arsenal to see how they can react against Aston Villa and, of course, their former boss, Unai Emery.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.